Hi, I am Claudia. My initial idea for this video was to share with you guys some of the insights that Dr. Joe has given me in the teleclasses, followed by how I applied that wisdom in a real life situation with my cat. But of course, the field, with a great sense of humor, surprised me, and I'm going to show you what happened. And of course, a couple of weeks later, I was invited to practice. I listened to this answer many times when my cat, which is here, was sick. Many times, Sasha. That's so funny. I shouldn't even edit that. This is a perfect example of little things happening that are unexplainable. As little as this synchronicity may sound, it is huge for me because little things like this are filling my days as a result of my discipline. I am very grateful with Dr. Joe for being a leading edge thinker and for sharing that information with the world that I live in. The question that I had asked was, I am living in a dream that I create every morning, and through my rehearsals, I've been able to perform better and better through some resistance that sometimes happens. But is there a formula to differentiate if I am creating that resistance or if it's the field acting as a father giving me a task to have my emotions in check? Or does it matter where it comes from, or should I just keep rehearsing? And Dr. Joe talked about both aspects of the question, and he said, there is no teacher that is teaching you anything other than life. So as I begin to look at my life, and I begin to look at the emotion that comes up as a result of the experience, it was that emotion that came out from that experience, the emotion that created the experience in the first place. So the next step is to say, today, I spend the majority of my day living in self-doubt or frustration or whatever the emotion is. And the next day, when I sit down on my creative process, that is the emotion that I work on becoming very aware of. And I begin to look at the thoughts, the attitudes, and the behaviors that are driven by that emotion. So the answer, he said, is yes, that the universe will reflect back to me that aspect of myself that I have to overcome to climb up another step. And then when I get up another step, I keep climbing up these steps and I keep ridding myself of all those self-limiting emotions until I actually get to the level of consciousness that reflects abundance or reflects freedom or reflects love. And then when I get to that level and the experience happens, I begin to realize that it was the journey up the steps that was purifying me and causing me to evolve some aspect of myself that allowed for that to take place. Regarding the other aspect, as we begin to make the changes, people think it's about their wealth, or they think it's about their freedom, or they think it's about their job or their relationships. But all of that is a reflection of self, and all of that is to begin to remove the masks and the facades as the layers that stand in the way between me and being connected to a greater aspect of that field. Sometimes we're actually creating from the old self. Sometimes we don't even know that we're doing that. Sometimes there is a level of complacency within us that hasn't caused us to rise up to a greater level of emotional coherence. And again, that kind of complacency that keeps us staying the same is rooted in the body. So it just takes practice and repetition. So when I get up, I feel differently than when I sat down. And if I can feel like I would feel when that experience happens in my life, that's how I know that the experience has already happened, because my body begins to embrace the emotion. Memorizing that emotion and being able to move into a state of being and becoming so familiar with that state then allows me to do two things. It allows me to be able to turn it on and off in a matter of moments, because I should be able to recognize it and be able to move into it in my daily life. And secondly, if I can condition my body to a new emotion and to a new mind when I have those events that happen in my life that are not a reflection of what my intention is, then I shorten the refractory period of the emotion that causes me to respond in the same way I would typically do it with the old self. A lot of people don't even go about the process of creation, and they will say to you, well, how come I didn't create this car accident, or I didn't really create this injury, or I didn't create this event in my life. I wasn't thinking that way. And the truth is that they created that experience by default, by not creating, by the fact that they were not creating and were not engaged in the process. It leaves them to the randomness or the effects or how reality unfolds when you don't have an intention. So it's an elegant balance, Dr. Joe said. It really takes look at what I'm creating, then being able to shorten the refractory period of the emotion and see what comes up. We can look at the experience which produces the emotion, that aspect of ourselves that we want to begin to continuously change or work on, so that when the event happens, there is no longer an emotion, and I move right past it, and I am on to the next step on that stairway to the firmer desire that I want. And now, this is how I apply that wisdom in a real life situation with my cat that's here. I listened to this answer many times when my cat was sick for the first time and only time in 6 years, and I was able to use that experience to clean up some emotions and climb up another step in my evolution. And not only that, by rehearsing and focusing on the healthy cat that she has always been, I was able to notice the shift in her health as soon as I shifted from fear to trust in the power within me and the power within her. I also noticed the clarity on my mind regarding what was the next logical step to help her. And information came to me from different sources. Dr. Joe's answer gave me the clarity to learn from that experience. Thank you very much from me and from my beautiful Sasha. I am very passionate about Dr. Joe's teachings because they are working every day in my life.